the intervention happening 4 to 5 times a week. So we trained the parents when they came in, we trained the student, we sent them home to do the intervention at home. And we did a distance collaboration because sometimes, having families be with us face-to-face is not always possible. But we used things like FaceTime and Skype, whatever worked for the family, or Zoom. We used that too, to be able to see them through, on the computer and see them at a distance, but not actually be physically present with them. And we found that when we did collaborate routinely, that the participants became accustomed to seeing the researcher because they would see me at least once a week. And so the students became more and more comfortable with me, and we were able to build the rapport, like Dr. Marcia talked about earlier. We built that trust and the rapport that we needed. It helped with the student outcomes. It helped when the families came back into the Mind Institute 6 months later to be able to, the students weren't afraid. They were comfortable with me. They knew who I was. That routine also helped with the families to be able to know that they had someone to contact, that I was there in their corner to help them with behaviors and to collaborate on whatever their needs were. And it also helped to decrease the anxiety, not only with the individuals with Fragile X and autism, but also with the families, because they felt that they had that trust. So some more benefits was that the routine check-ins made a positive difference on the productivity and outcomes of the collaborations by the student interactions with the therapist, with myself, and increased communication with the families. And then also being able to collaborate at a distance helps families with their time, helps with money and travel, because sometimes those resources are hard to come by. Some more benefits of collaboration and ways that it benefits us as professionals, and Dr. Laura talked about this a little bit, is that it helps us to problem solve. So if I'm having difficulty with a student in speech therapy because I can't get them to attend, they won't sit in their chair, I would talk to Laura, I would talk to Melissa, our behaviorist, and see what techniques they're using and come up with ideas for in the speech therapy room so we can work together and be using those same techniques. We talked about how it's best practices. It helps us as professionals and individuals because it helps us to grow in our own profession and our own way of thinking about children with autism. And we really want to emphasize today that we need parents as that key collaborator. Parents know these children better than any of us do, and being able to draw upon their experiences with their child is just going to benefit us and their child, and hopefully the parents as well. The home-to-school connection is really important, and we've talked about consistency across settings. It benefits the students because they're going to learn best by this routine, and it also helps the students build their self-concept and self-esteem. They start to see their teachers and their parents also as teachers, and that consistency can be really helpful for them. The collaboration across contexts also helps parents to be able to know how to work with their child and to see the strengths in their child and to really, I think, feel more valued in your role as a parent teacher. So Laura talked about this a little bit, being able to collaborate isn't rocket science, right? But there are some skills, and it doesn't always come easy to people. The interpersonal skills, the ability to be able to listen to other people and really take in their ideas and hear them for what they are and be able to be open to listening and trying something new possibly. The idea of being willing to share with others your ideas, sometimes that's hard. Sometimes when we share our ideas, it makes us feel a little bit vulnerable. But it's great when you have a collaboration where you feel like you can really trust the other people. That way you can bring your perspective to the team and hear what others have to say as well. In the United States, we do set time aside for collaboration. Most of the public schools set about 2 to 3 hours a week aside just to collaborate. It's called Professional Learning Community, or PLC. And this is a time where we send the kids home. They have an early day from school. So instead of, usually our school days 8 to 3, the kids will probably go home around 1 o'clock, 12:30, 1 o'clock. And the professionals then have time to get together, and they spend 2 to 3 hours collaborating and just talking about the students, maybe making materials for the students. Whatever the case may be, it's all completely individualized on how that collaboration works and how each team that is collaborating works. We call PLCs, we do refer to them as teams. Sometimes it's by grade, sometimes it's by disability. It just depends on how it's set up. But it is a nice option, and it's nice that it's built into our system and allows for that time and those resources. The other important part is support from administration or from the people who help make the rules, right? So if your administration is supporting these ideas, then it's going to provide you with the resources that you need to be successful. So some practical ideas for how teachers can communicate with parents. And also, I think a lot of times change happens because parents are the ones advocating and wanting these changes to happen. And so parents, I would encourage you, to think about these things and how you can help facilitate the collaboration as well. For the schools, we recommend creating a welcoming environment so that parents feel comfortable coming in and talking to teachers. Communication is key, and however that happens is really flexible. So in one of Laura's studies, they really emphasized the need for face-to-face collaboration. Sometimes that's not possible, so using notebooks or emails. We use Google Docs a lot, shared documents, so parents see readily what is available, how their students doing at school. We offer parent nights or trainings for parents to get together. Marcia talked about the need for parents to be able to be together and share ideas. And that was talked about earlier this morning too. We offer that at the schools, so that way parents have a place to come and feel supported. Teachers can ask for classroom volunteers. It doesn't happen as much in the United States in our special education classes. It happens in our general education classes, but for some reason there's not as many volunteers in special education. But we would encourage families to come in, to be a part of the classroom activities from time to time, to see how the teacher interacts with the child. This will help you see the skills that they talk about in practice. We do things like open house and monthly newsletters.
So how to encourage families to plan for success as they start to adopt their role as a fundamental member of the team. One of the things that Carrie and I, when we work together, we ask families, what's your typical day? What is happening in your family? So that way, our strategies and recommendations are tailored to the family. Because if we're asking you what's important to you, then our recommendations fit into your life. We want to know how you break down your day and what's in your schedule, so then we can help you prioritize things that are important. What's going well, right? There are a lot of things in your day sometimes, and Dr. Marcia talked about this, there's probably a lot more going well than we realize, because sometimes we're just stuck on what we need to fix. But if we talk about, what goes really well in our house? When we cuddle on the couch and look at books quietly together. That's my favorite time. So that's a good thing. Then we would talk about how to increase the things that are going well and do more of those ideas. But then also, certainly, what are you struggling with? And then how can the team help customize? Again, we can have the best ideas, and we usually think we do have the best ideas. But it doesn't matter if my ideas are good for me. They have to be good for you. Carrie's ideas are great for her too, but they have to be good for the family. And our ideas are only better together when our combined expertise helps the family do something that's important to you. And then brainstorm what you can do at home. If we come up with strategies, this happens all the time in the U.S. This happened to me for years and years and years in my practice. Oh, hi, okay. I would give ideas to families, but it was too hard for them to do it. It was too complicated for them to do it. So we need feedback from you guys as the family to say, I can't fit that in. I can't do that idea. So then I need to know, okay, what can we do differently instead? What can we do differently, better, more concrete that makes sense? Because if I give you a whole bunch of suggestions that don't fit into your life, then we haven't helped your child and we haven't helped your lives as a family. So once we figure out what we're going to try, then we're going to track our progress. We're going to monitor how it's going, and we're going to keep the good stuff, and we're going to chuck the bad stuff. We don't want to keep doing things that don't work, but sometimes we need to leave ideas in place long enough to see if they do work, and that determination happens individually with the team. I think that's, so, yeah. Good. Oh, yeah. So we want to close there, and we want to thank you all so much for having us here. It is such an honor. We've had just a joyful time in your country, and we're just delighted to have new colleagues and new friends, and we hope these are long, lifelong relationships. Thank you. Merci.
Dr. Marcia, Dr. Melissa, would you come up to the podium? Dr. Carey, you want to come up? And do you want to go just chat with him real briefly and ask him if he wants to join you? Okay, go on up there. Okay. Okay. Hello again. It's a long, long day, so I'm so happy that you are staying here. So this is a great part of the conference right now. This is the questions and answers, where all of our specialists okay. I don't know what that means, but that's okay. You're going to have a chance to write down questions, and I lost my person with the paper. She was here a minute ago. Do you have paper? Does everybody have paper? Okay. So we have, I lost my volunteer who's going to read the questions too. You can write them in Farsi if that's what you need to do. And the specialist will answer. But there's one person on the podium, Dr. Melissa Mello, who you have not formally met yet. So I want her to tell you who she is. Great. Melissa?
Hi, everyone. I'm also really excited to be here and looking forward to this part of the presentation. Like Robbie said, my name is Melissa Mello. I also came with the UC Davis group here from the Mind Institute. And my expertise is I'm a board-certified behavior analyst. So I've worked for many years with young children with autism and their families, dealing primarily with their behavioral programs at home and any challenging behaviors that come up to help children integrate better into community and their home life. So it's wonderful to be here with you all. Thank you.
So you have an incredible group of people up here on the stage, and I don't say that only because they're my friends. This is a very, very smart group of people who've dedicated their lives to helping people with autism. They're going to give you some great answers. I heard them do this presentation or answer questions in Isfahan, so I know that they have some great answers. Before I do that, one last thing. Marcia would like to organize a parent stress group for all of you parents in the audience, but we're going to do that as the very last event of the day. After all of the speakers are done, we're going to organize the chairs in a circle for all the parents, And Marcia is going to lead a parent stress group. So that will be around 4:30 or 5 o'clock, we hope. We hope. Okay, with that, we have our trusty interpreter here who's going to read your questions to the panel. Yeah, he's going to do it in Farsi and English. What's this?
Okay, so the first question we have is, what is the open? What is the technique of an open house?
I know. I guess that's me. Okay. So an open house, it can take a variety of forms, but really the concept behind having an open house is so that families can come after school. It's typically in the evening time, and have a time just to talk with the teachers about how their students are doing. It's kind of more of a global kind of concept. It's not like a IEP meeting, an individualized education plan meeting, but it's talking about what's happening in the classroom. It gives parents an opportunity to see the classroom. In the United States, we have many children who take the bus to school, whose parents do not come to the school and see what's happening. So an open house is an evening where parents can come and see what's happening in the classroom, to see how it's set up, to meet with the teachers, and it's another way to just help build that collaboration.
سوال بعد رو من میخونم. برای برنامه‌نویسی و نقطه آغاز و ادامه آموزش کودکان اوتیسم از چه منابع، کتاب‌ها و ژورنال‌هایی می‌شود استفاده کرد که بهترین باشند و جدیدترین در این حوزه؟ کسی داشتید که هیچ پیشرفتی نداشته باشد و از او قطع امید کرده باشید؟ So for writing a program and for the starting point and the continuation of education of autistic children, what sources with regards to books, journals can be used which are the newest and the best in the discipline? And the second question addresses whether or not you have had a case with no progress and where you have lost hope.
I'm sure many of us will want to chime in on this, but I'll speak to the second question first. It certainly can happen that we have children who face many, many challenges, but so far I would say, at least in my work, I've never given up hope on a child. I work very hard and sometimes spend a tremendous amount of time trying to really figure out how to teach a particular student. And I believe that every child has some motivator, something that they're interested in and willing to work for. It just sometimes takes a lot of time and energy to figure out exactly what is it that makes an individual tick, how is it that they learn, what is the best way to present information to them, and just, yeah, work incredibly hard to figure out exactly how to help each child, because there's no one way that each child will learn and receive information. I don't know if you guys have.
So I think that that question is really important, and I think it really stresses, again, the importance of needing to work together. So if I'm the occupational therapist and I'm feeling really stuck, I don't want to lose hope, but I need different ideas. So if I'm stuck and the child is frustrated, the child is having meltdowns, the child's hurting himself or other people, the child's destroying property, these are big issues, and I reach out to my colleagues and invite them, bring them with me to the classroom to meet with the family and say, hey, we have to put our heads together. So there's no loss of hope, but it's more, where are my resources? Where are the other experts? What can we try, like Melissa said? And how to make adjustments. You don't stay stuck. You work really hard to get unstuck. And even if it's the most severe behaviors of harm to self or others, destruction of property, you can still work together to figure something out. And we understand we've all been through that, and it's hard to watch when children are having really, really intensive issues, but all the more reason to embrace your community of clinicians and support people. Yeah, sure.
And I think the other part of that question was about resources that are available to help students with autism. I think it was about like curriculums or books that students can access. I'm sure, again, we're all going to have a few different ideas. I work primarily with a resource called A Work in Progress. It's by Dr. John McCacken and Ronald Leaf. The book itself is not incredibly new, but they have a series of DVDs and information that they've published after that book, and they have a ton of publications. If you just search their names in any journal, you'll find tons and tons of very recent publications. They have a curriculum to follow, as well as in their manual a lot of different ideas suggesting how to teach each one of their programs, as well as kids with autism. And in my work primarily at The Mind, we're doing a lot of early intervention work using the Early Start Denver model, because they also have a developmental assessment, a checklist that can be used that allows you to know exactly what skills to teach the child based on their current stage of development. So those are two ideas, and I'm sure my colleagues have others to add. Yeah, those two books, again, were A Work in Progress by Dr. Ronald Leaf and John McCacken, and An Early Start Denver Model by Sally Rogers and Geraldine Dawson.
سوال بعدی، چه اسباب بازی‌هایی برای کودکان اوتیستی مناسب است؟ زیرا کودک من از عروسک خیلی می‌ترسد. What sorts of toys are appropriate for autistic children, since my child is terrified of dolls? Yeah. Dolls.
Yeah. Many, many, many different kinds of toys are appropriate for children with autism. I would say the primary thing I look for is what are their interests and what motivates them. It doesn't matter if it's something that I like or I think is fun. They may have no interest in it. So I spend time just watching children in their homes or in classrooms and seeing what they gravitate towards. Usually you can watch children and see something that they're interested in or present. We sometimes come to therapy sessions with bags of toys and just put everything out and see what the children tend to pick. I also tend to look for toys that can have a therapeutic aspect, so something that will allow me to teach language or fine motor skills, or just make sure that it's leading to serving lots of different needs for the student with autism.
چرا برای حل مشکلات حسی کودکان بعد از قطع شدن کاردرمانی دوباره این مشکلات برمیگردد؟ So the question would be, why after treating the children's sensory problems will flare up again once occupational therapy ceases?
That's a great question. So I think, we've talked a lot about today how autism doesn't stop at a certain age. It's a diagnosis that lasts through the lifespan. The other thing that I appreciate very much about this question is about when therapy happens. So if occupational therapy is happening on Wednesday between 4 and 5 in the afternoon, and that's the only time you see any benefit, that means you have to ask questions